panels. So actually 2 months ago, we had our first, and it was quite successful considering the feedback we got from the show. So we thought we'd continue and do it again, and maybe again. What do you? It really depends how the feedback that we get from this show tonight. Now, on the panel tonight, we have yourself, Sheila. We also have our wonderful producer, Bobby. Bobby, are you there, sweetie?
Hi, yeah, Sharon.
Excellent. And we have the Reverend Amanda Jean Deering. Are you there, Amanda? Everyone on?
Yeah, I'm here now.
Excellent. So basically, I'll just give you a run through of the bios. So Amanda Jean is a teacher. She's a writer, a natural holistic practitioner, and a universal shaman psychic. Wow, that's there's a lot going on there, Amanda. So
yeah, just a little bit.
She's been active on her path for 25 years, no wonder, and has the joy and pleasure to be doing what she loves for her career, and that is a pleasure. She is a traditional naturopath, a master herbalist, a master counsellor, a remedial massage practitioner, an external sport injury practitioner, as well as a practitioner of reflexology. She also does cupping and,
Gua sha.
Thank you. Gua sha, acupressure, and ear candling. Yeah, I've got a question for that after. She's also, like Sheila, a minister of metaphysical science. And so we better watch our P's and Q's then. Is that how it works? That's not going to happen. Let's face it. I'll give it a go tonight. And an Reiki. Isui.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I've got two. Okay, you two can duke it out. Usui.
Yeah.
and of course, a universal shaman, a psychic, intuitive, spirit artist, as well as a practitioner of crystal healing. Oh, I'm a big fan of crystal healing. Here we go. Pelawa healing. Did I get that one right?
That one right.
Good. Angelic healing, Arbor healing. So what's the difference between Arbor and Pelawa healing?
Okay, so Pelawa is a direct from source, doesn't come through any masters or anything like that. So it's not it's divinely guided rather than like an ascended master or anything like that. So there's no stigma or element attached to it. It lasts as long as it lasts, so there's no set time for it. And it works on reconnecting the 12 strands of DNA and that. Arbor healing, on the other hand, is essentially a spiritual DNA transplant. So it's not a healing that you do lightly. It's a bit like a heart transplant or something like that, but on a spiritual, energetic basis. You don't go and do a heart transplant just because you think, oh, well, I want to upgrade. You do it because you need it or something like that. So the same thing happens with an arbor healing. It's all designed about the fact that your system is energetically not working, and we need to go to a deeper level to bring about a healing. So it's a very, very strong healing that, again, will last as long as it lasts, but it's all about, shifting a very deep-seated, very, strongly anchored frequency in the system. So, yeah.
Wow. So basically, how I interpret that is the Pelawa healing, you're cutting out the middleman.
Exactly. Yeah. So rather than going through some angel or some deity or divine being, you're going direct to source. It's straight from. I'm essentially just the person watering the grass, if that makes sense. When you do Pelawa, there's no. I don't even get insights to what is happening, which is really nice. It's so if there's any ego, the energy doesn't come through. And the beautiful part about it is it's between the person and their maker. It doesn't matter who the maker is, but it's that divine energy, and that's it. There's no one else, not even me. I'm not even involved in it. I'm just the person holding the hose that's watering the garden. That's basically the easiest way for me to put it into,
No, that sounds awesome. I think we'll take that offline and do something with that ourselves. To continue, because this is one hell of a bio. Past life assimilation, sacred geometric alignment, vibrational healing. I reckon, Amanda, Jean, we could just do a show on your bio. Seriously. Rainbow Spirit Healing. As the founder of the Universal Lightworking Academy, Amanda Jean teaches courses and workshops on a variety of subjects from, I imagine, from natural therapies to esoteric studies. Now, you have an upcoming workshop called Awaken Your Divine Potential and Personal Power, and you do a weekly class that allows for one to be exposed to a variety of practices. Now, if you want to find out more, and Amanda Jean, you're based in Sydney as well, aren't you?
Down in Newcastle, yeah. Lovely old Newcastle.
Are you in Newcastle? Oh, that's wonderful. I'm actually coming to Newcastle for a few hours in January. We should catch up while I'm there.
Let's do that. I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. We'll talk after. Now, Amanda Jean's website is www.amanda-jean.com. You can also find her on Facebook at amandajean.deering, and I will post up after the show the mobile email. And do you want people contacting you on Skype as well, Amanda, or would you prefer the other?
No. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all depending on how they want to work, eh?
Exactly. So, and our next panelist is, of course, Bobby. Bobby, how are you today?
Sorry, I was muted. I'm doing fine, Sharon.
That's wonderful. Now, Bobby is retired, lucky guy, retired after working 35 plus years in IT and in various programming and system admin roles. I have been there too, so I know your pain. He spent a lot of time keeping up with technological advances in IT and learning new things, most recently Python, white hat hacking, and AI, of course. That's so topical at the moment. We could have a discussion on, oh God, what's that last Joe Rogan podcast? Have you seen that with Elon Musk?
Oh, yeah, that was cool.
That was amazing, wasn't it? So anyway, you and we shall chat about that at some point too, Bobby, because, I mean, that's going to really crack open a few things. Bobby hosts an open roundtable called Urban Psychosis on Revolution Radio, and he produces Sheila's weekly show, Welcome to the 1%. And once a month, he looks after me, and he does a brilliant job. Now, Urban Psychosis airs 3 hours prior to Sheila's show on a Wednesday to midnight, until 3 a.m. Thursday Eastern Time. Bobby plays guitar. He writes songs under the name Ancient Alphabet. That's B-I-T at the end, not B-E-T, which can be found and enjoyed on SoundCloud. Now, Bobby, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to do something with this bio. It is not as awesome as Amanda Jean's. I'm sorry.
I was beginning to think it was too long as it was when you were going through it.
No, I'm sorry. If I'm going to introduce you every couple of months on the Trumpanum, I want something meaty. I want you to really put some effort into your next bio.
Okay, I'll work on it.
Yeah, that's good. I'll send you. There's your homework you got 2 months to do it. Now, I don't need to introduce Sheila, thank God. So everyone knows how wonderful she is. I personally call Sheila a metaphysical maven, because if there's anything I'm unsure about spiritually, well, actually just in general, I'll give her a quick call, and she'll tell me all about it. And so I always know that she'll have a great answer for me. So welcome, Amanda Jean. Welcome, Bobby, and hello again, Sheila.
Hi, Sharon.
Now, are you ready to talk? I mean, I can't believe, I mean, seriously, to be honest, I'm sitting here today and I've just spent like the last 4 hours just getting the ins and outs of everything Kavanaugh and what's been going on. And to be honest, I've been tuning out of it because it was a little bit too much. I felt a little overwhelmed about everything going on about 2 weeks ago. So I've given myself some time off. And, just sitting down now and catching up on what's just happened with the new Supreme Court pick, I am just stunned. I just think to myself, we could do shows on Trump for the next 16 years, I think, and we still wouldn't cover half of the content that's coming out. What on earth did the people in news in the US do before Trump became president? Seriously, what did they report on?
Well, I mean, Obama did things. He golfed and, he participated in various sports. I mean, but you didn't know, seriously, you didn't hear like daily things happening. There were periods that went by where you didn't hear anything.
You had a life. People actually had a life in between things going to crap or things, getting hot in certain regions of the world. But my God, I'm just exhausted catching up. Obviously, you just really can't not watch at the moment. There's something almost hypnotic about it. It's like we've all had something cast over us, a big spell. What do you think, Amanda Jean? I mean, I know we're in Australia, and you, myself, and Sheila, we're not as drawn into it as obviously Bobby would be. But even I'm finding it more compelling than Australian politics.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, it's just one of those. I guess it's almost like a train wreck. You want to look away, you try and look away, you can't look away. So you keep watching it thinking, oh my goodness, surely this is staged. Surely this is just, this is all being put on. It's a reality TV show. Someone's going to turn around and say, haha, punked. This totally hasn't happened. But it's just, it is actually quite amazing and quite, sort of, I don't know. It really is. It is a spellbinding moment where you think, no, I'm not going to watch any more of it. And then you find yourself looking for it. You're looking for what has happened this last hour, this last minute, because you think, nothing else could purely, and excuse the pun, trumpet, but it does. And you just sit there going, oh my God. And then you look at our politics going, wow, okay.
So boring.
We got the nanas. We have nanas.
I just want to know, even the ABC stuff this week with Michelle Guthrie, who I'm so glad she got the sack. I've got to say it, because I stopped watching the ABC about 5 years ago, and then it's just been a steady decline of the shows that I actually like watching. I used to watch ABC News like I do Trump, but I don't know, it just kind of, I just got weaned off it slowly because they just kept pissing me off with articles and, interviews. And then I realised about a year ago that it's their whole mission and that to just represent minorities in Australia and not actually. And then when they went and cancelled Landline, which for Bobby's purposes, Landline is a show that's been on since I think the very beginning of the ABC, and it's for the people on the land, and they don't get a lot of, some of them don't even get TV out there, I don't think, but they get radio and they get Landline somehow, I think. And so it's the one show that every Australian could watch or connect with. And then this lady who took over the ABC 2.5 years ago just got rid of all these shows that most of Australia watch and just basically pandered to minorities in the community. That's how I see it. How do you see it, Sheila? Do you watch ABC?
Well, I don't have television, Sharon. I haven't done for about 20 years. So, and I, other than Revolution Radio, I really do not listen to radio either. So quite often I will pick up stuff that's happening on the internet. It's coming through on a news flash, or somebody will comment on it on Facebook perhaps, or something like that. So I agree with the Nana's version. I think our politics are ridiculous, personally. And that's why I support the Tea for Tea Party, because I think they're a breath of fresh air. And not just for Tasmania, but for all of Australia, if they actually can get some things happening. So, but as you were saying about, and Amanda Jean was saying about the train wreck, when the US election was on, and I know I've said this before, I was absolutely drawn to what's happening, what's going on. I mean, not specifically a Trump supporter. I'm just definitely not a Hillary supporter. And it was that daily thing of, what's happening, what's coming now, et cetera. And when you posted the run sheet for tonight's show, it was like, oh, okay, so there was some interesting stuff in that. So I actually did go and do a little bit of research.
Sorry about that.
No, that's quite all right. Always happy to research. But I haven't been sort of watching or been aware of a great deal recently, other than, as I said, the odd thing that, you see here and there. But I can understand that train wreck side of it, because I was just so drawn into what was happening. And that's really, really unusual for me, especially anything political, because I probably don't have a political bone in my body. So,
do you know what's been fascinating to me this week? There's been a lot of people saying that Donald Trump on the dark web is a time traveller. And they've actually got footage of him back in 2011 talking about Pizzagate, but Pizzagate wasn't a thing until 2016. So they're saying this is proof that he's actually a time traveller. And then I watched a documentary on Tesla, and guess who the government appointed to look through all of Tesla's documents and, dispose of his machinery after he died?
You're not going to tell me Donald Trump, are you?
Donald Trump's, I think it was his uncle.
Yes, his uncle.
His uncle, yeah. So that's kind of adding credence to this whole time traveller thing for me. So I just find it, it would make sense why, because he seems to, no matter what happens, he seems to get out of it, doesn't he, Bobby? No matter what gets thrown, he seems to rise above it.
Yeah, except, the thing that I'm waiting for now is the midterm elections, which are less than a month. No, it's slightly more than a month away. And if he doesn't, maintain a majority Republicans, I think they're going to impeach him, because they want to. They just don't have enough Democrats right now.
No, look, I actually think this Kavanaugh thing has... Are you all still there? Sorry, my Skype's playing. Okay. I actually think this... What the Dems have done with this Kavanaugh thing is going to secure him the midterms, because I think anyone watching this thinks that they basically they're basically sacrificing Kavanaugh. I have to say I've looked at everything, as I said, over the last 5 hours, and I've come away thinking, at first glance, that I think the guy's being framed. And I'm the biggest feminist out here. I will cry, I will say, always listen to the women. But all of these accounts, all these accusations, there's no witnesses. And when there have been witnesses, they've approached the witnesses, and the witnesses have denied it. They don't remember the location it occurred. They don't remember who was in the room. They don't remember the date of it, the year, anything. So there's no actual fact or evidence. It's all just, a lot
hearsay.
It's accusation, and it's hearsay, and whereas on his side, he's had almost 100 people come out and swear to his good character. He even went on TV. I saw this just before, and it almost floored me. He actually got on TV and explained he was actually a virgin until, basically on his wedding night. So the fact, for a man to be able to actually get on TV and have to admit that, I was traumatized by it for him. Bobby, what do you think about that? I was traumatized when I saw him do it.
Now, which wedding night would that be? Would that be his first or his second? Because Stormy feels Daniels fits in there someplace. She fits in. She fits in before. Oh, Kavanaugh. Oh, I thought you were talking about Trump.
No. Kavanaugh basically just went on TV last night or the night before and actually admitted that he was a virgin until practically his wedding night. So, I actually felt, when he did that, I just thought, oh my God, the poor guys had to admit this on national TV. It's just, I was traumatized for him. And I've come away after just viewing everything over the last 5 hours, and I just think, poor sod. I've got to say it. I feel so bad for him. And it's the first time ever as a feminist that I legitimately would not give credence to the women. I've got to say it. I don't believe them. Amanda Jean, Sheila, Bobby, what do you think? Am I wrong?
I think you're right.
No.
I don't believe them either. They don't sound convincing. They say like, well, yeah, but it could have been, but I'm not sure. It might have been. You know, that kind of crap makes you feel like, why are you even making an accusation when you're not sure?
Yeah, I just can't believe. I mean, it's quite obvious to me, and I don't know a lot about. I didn't really know what was going on with the midterms and that, but it seems obvious to me that this is to delay him getting onto the Supreme Court until after the midterms, and then they're hoping that they get voted in more Dems so that they can then, you know, just block him going on. Because
that's exactly correct. Yeah, exactly.
That is what I think this is all about, and the fact that they are willing to sacrifice like this perfect judge to do that should tell everybody in the US what a bunch of arseholes these Democrats are. Because I'm sorry, I never thought any party. I mean, you don't expect politicians to be, you know, great people, but this is the worst thing I think I've ever seen from a political party anywhere in the world. I've got to say it.
I mean, the worst thing is you're seeing there's a lot of ego getting in the way. It's not, you know, it's you know, like Trump coming in, that smashed how many egos in that very short moment. Because I mean, they never expected him to win. They never expected him to get anywhere close. I mean, for him to even get into the candidacy was like earth-shattering. To then win, and win by not just a moment, but quite a broad range across a broad range of states, even some of those that were supposedly safe in the Democrats' hands. This shattered some massive egos, and you know, and really turned the whole sort of, you know, elitist party on its head. And it was such a but then globalization,
they had all that sewn up between, you know, it was quite obvious now that's what, and he's slowly over the last year and a half been disbanding all of their planning. It's been beautiful to see, actually. I've really enjoyed, haven't you, Bobby, seeing them, all their little plans go down the toilet?
Oh yeah, he's basically, he doesn't want to be, you know, doesn't want to be part of their economic thing. He wants them to pay their fair share at the UN. And I can't believe he's saying, I want them to at least pay 25%. That sounds like, you know, we're still paying more than we should.
Oh, tell me about it. Well, since we've got there now, let's get into this. So ladies, gentlemen, actually, does anyone have a preferred gender they'd like me to do? Or are you all happy being men and women?
No, whatever you call me.
Bobby, do you identify as anything other than male?
Biological organism.
Okay.
Nice work, Bobby. Nice work.
Okay, so ladies and the biological organism formerly known as Bobby. Shall we get into TP #1? Now, on January the 23rd on 2017, we're going to talk about President Trump, who signed the memorandum that withdrew the United States from what we know in Australia as the TPP, but in long form is the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Now, the TPP is a defunct proposed trade agreement between Australia, Brunei, Canada, Chile, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Peru, Singapore, Vietnam, and the United States that was supposed to be signed on the 4th of February 2016. The original TPP, there is now a cut-down version in place, which I believe has actually gone through without the US signing on, contain measures to lower both non-tariff and tariff barriers to trade, and to establish an investor-state dispute settlement, ISDS, mechanism. The US International Trade Commission, the Peterson Institute for International Economics, the World Bank, interesting, and the Office of the Chief Economist at Global Affairs Canada found the final agreement would, if ratified, lead to net positive economic outcomes for all signatories. While an analysis using an unorthodox model by two Tufts University economists found the agreement would adversely affect the signatories. Now, obviously, the United States, Trump didn't want us in that. We didn't want the US in that because he had other tariff objectives, which he is currently portraying, and for good reason now. I think from the US perspective, he would have been, it was ridiculous to have ever contemplated signing into this personally. But let's go to the questions. So we'll start with Bobby. Bobby, considering how the US in the past 2 years has prospered by bringing back manufacturing industries and sourcing from within, do you think Trump did the right thing for the US by not signing the TPP?
I definitely do. There was a lot of people against the TPP, and that was one of Trump's campaign promises, and I was really glad to see he followed through on it, because he just looked at it and said, this is not a good deal for the U.S., and that I'd much rather make separate deals with these countries.
Yeah, no, look, I agree. Unfortunately, Australia went and signed the cut-down version, so we're actually in the cut-down version of it. Every time I go to pick it up and have a closer look at it, I just get really upset. So I've stepped away from that. Amanda Jean, what do you think? Considering that the US in the past 2 years seems to have prospered amazingly well, did they do the right thing?
I do, and from that point of view, you see at the end of the day, Trump, he didn't appease the look, it's all well and good to go and say, oh, well, they're all signing something, I should sign it with yous. And considering that a lot of people look to America as an ally and all that sort of stuff and blah, 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 I think Trump really did do in that moment think about the US. He wasn't thinking about, okay, what's this going to do for my relationship between the US and Australia, or the US and this, or the US and that. He actually just went, okay. He looked at it as a business deal, because at the end of the day, he is a businessman, and he hasn't gotten where he's got to by being a crap businessman. He has really looked at it and gone, okay, if I'm treating America like a business, this is a crap deal. So no, I would rather go to these individual countries. I would rather get a better deal for both parties, a win-win between us, rather than doing a blanket across the board something. I think really he did, and I think he did it. I think he sort of, again, was able to take out the whole peer pressure thing and actually go, you know what, no, I don't think this is a good deal. This is what I want. This is what I need for my country, and I think he did it brilliantly. So I think he did do the right thing. I think he sort of really looked. Whereas, Australia at the moment seems to be really trying to keep up with the Joneses rather than, hang on a second, what is the right thing for Australia? They're doing it as, well, I want to keep up with the Joneses. Whereas Trump has been able to turn around and say, no, stuff the Joneses. I really want to do the right thing by my country and my business, you know what I mean? So now, look, I think he did the right thing.
I completely agree. And I also think he had in the front of his head what he was about to do with China, how he's taking them on and trying to not hobble them, but make them more of a partner than a takeover agent, which is what I think their agenda is. So Bobby, Sheila, Sheila, considering how the US in the past 2 years has prospered by bringing back manufacturing industries and sourcing from within, do you think Trump did the right thing for the US by not signing the TPP?
Absolutely. And I would agree with everything all of you, Bobby, Amanda, and yourself have said, Sharon, because Trump is a businessman. So he's also less likely to be swayed, if you like, by other people perhaps who've agreed to that in the first place.
So, Bobby, a lot of pressure's put on the so-called superpowers in our world to not think about their own countries, but to think about their country's effect on the other countries in the world. Now, do you think it is okay for a superpower to think about their own country first before their allies?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just like, you look out for your family first, and then if you can, you help other people, but primarily you're looking out for your family. And that's what I think Trump feels. I'll look out for America first, and then I'll help other people. We still are very charitable.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the key word, isn't it? Charity starts at home. That's what we say here in Australia. And then, although we don't practice a lot of that, I've noticed. Amanda Jean, do you think it's okay for a superpower like the US to think of their own country first before helping allies?
Absolutely, and I think it's that. It's always the case of too. It's it'll always be the I mean, you look at any sort of structure in the way of even society, and you will have those people saying, well, the rich people should pay more taxes because they earn more, but then the poor person goes, well, I don't want to pay any taxes because I don't earn enough. And a lot of this looks at from that thing of, well, okay, well, yeah, because you can afford it, you pay more tax. But that person's working just as hard to look after their own self. So the same thing comes with a superpower. It's all well and good to say, well, they're a superpower. They should be looking after us. They should be protecting us. They should be thinking of us first because we're this, and this, because we can't afford it, or we're not as strong as them. Yet they've been a non-superpower at one stage. They have been a poor country where they were starting out, and England or Spain were considered the superpowers. You know what I mean? So it's, at the moment, yes, the US is one of those superpowers, and I do believe that, yes, they need to start looking after their own first. Otherwise, they will end up back in the poo again, because they've sent all their charitable, manufacturing or their charitable things overseas. And of course, that's where you end up with other countries building, because they've got the monopoly, they've got the market, they've got the, you look at Australia now, and this is the way I look at it as well, is that, Australia is losing all their manufacturing and all their ability to build things in-house, which means there's jobs going, there's more, the unemployment is, or the employment possibility is not there, because there's no longer the factories or things like that producing a product that is either, one, kept in-house to supply their own, or two, exportable overseas. We're now importing everything back in, which means we're no longer even a contender to become a superpower, because we're giving all our power away to other countries to do it for us. Trump has been able to actually go, you know what, no, in order for us to maintain our status as a solid, strong country, we need to actually look after our own. We need to make sure that our people are producing their own stuff. We need to be self-sustainable. We need to be, able to produce our own goods and keep it in-house, and anything extra that we can manufacture and sell, then that's great. But first of all, we've got to look after our own. We've got to make sure our children are clothed, our children are fed, and it doesn't matter how old those children are, whether or not they're 5 or 105. They're still American children, and they need to be looked after. So, I think a superpower needs to look after. I think any country needs to look after their own first. Then, if they have the available resources, if they have the available funds that isn't going to put them into the red, and they want to share, then great. But first comes first. You really do. Each country needs to look after their own first, and then it's a bit like on the airplane. Apply your mask first, and then help the passengers around you, because you're no good on the floor if you passed out from lack of oxygen.
Exactly, sweetie. Do you know what? When you were talking then, I remembered that something that Trump said about 2 weeks ago, where Google were kicking up a fuss about the tariffs, and he basically said, well, this is an organization that has outsourced everything to China. Yeah. And the same with Apple. Apple were kicking up a stink, and he said the same thing. He said, and who makes all their goods? China. Why don't they both their factories back into their own country and support the people? And I noticed that shut that discussion down very quickly on behalf
Absolutely.
of and Apple. And to be honest, it's made me view my iPhone purchases each year in a very different light now. And I've also removed Google from all of my computers. I had no idea Google was now established in China. Did you guys know that?
No. Yeah, I'd heard that they'd moved. I'd heard that they'd moved. Yeah.
I don't think anyone should be using Google now. I think personally we need to get rid of they're coding they've coded Google now, or the last release in China. So you know for a fact that there'll be some back door or something, in that now. It's not good. So Sheila, is it okay for a superpower to think about their own country before their allies?
Well, I'm going to agree with you guys. I think you have to. As Amanda Jean said, as you've said, as Bobby said, if you do not look after your own, how do you then look after other people? That whole thing of charity begins at home. It was in my mind when Amanda said it, or you said it, Sharon. We do have to be aware. And, if we look at Australia currently, there's so many strange things happening around here that we're not looking after our own, are we? No. I think, whether it be the US or another superpower, and again, it's like kids in the school playground, isn't it? The ones with the most front, if you like, or the most friends quite often want to bully the smaller ones into their way of doing things. So again, if you're looking after your own and you're aware of what's going on, I think it's much better. And no, I didn't know about Google, Amanda, and Sharon, sorry, not Amanda Jean. I've been using Google for years, so I might have to look at doing something else.
Yeah, I've tried a couple already, and they're all crap except for Google, to be honest. But I'm getting used to using. I've tried. There's another one I've downloaded, which if it's better, I'll send you a link to it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Bobby, do you believe, like the other signatory countries, that the original trade deal, not this cut down version, would have served a geopolitical purpose, namely to reduce the signatories' dependence on Chinese trade and bring the signatories closer to the United States? So basically, yeah.
I'm sorry, was there more?
Well, no. Well, basically, I can probably shorten that a little bit. The original deal was sold to people that it would basically decrease the amount of trade with China and increase the US trade deals. But obviously, what Trump has done is said, no, I think I can get a better deal on my own, one-on-one. So, but do you believe that the original document, TVP, should have been signed, or do you think he did the right thing, I suppose? So it's kind of the same question that we answered before, but this is that I suppose the question I really wanted to ask there, now I've read it a second time, is Do you think that was just the best deal that Barack Obama could get? But because he isn't a businessman? I suppose that's the real question I wanted to ask.
Well, that's a better question, because I think Barack Obama was going along with the idea of, all these countries are signing and we're going to do a regional deal. And Trump looked at it and said, no, this isn't a good deal, because anytime you make a deal among that many parties, it's like a lowest common denominator. You're compromising to get a deal everybody will accept, as opposed to just saying, I'll just make a separate deal with each of them, and then I can get the deal that's best for both of our countries.
Exactly. That's spot on. Do you agree with that, Amanda?
Yeah, I do, because I really think that with a lot of these deals, it is about, look, it's easier to get a bunch of people there going, okay, let's do this. Yeah, and they all go, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Well, they're doing it, so I'll do it. You know what I mean? And so it's that, and for a lot of smaller countries, it means, oh, yeah, we're rubbing shoulders with the big wigs. Like I mean, look at Australia. We want to rub shoulders with the big guys. We don't want to be a little old, Nigel no friends out here. And so if we can rub shoulders with the big ones, especially someone like the States, yeah, we're in there with a chance. So we're happy to obligingly go along with these deals. Whereas, I think for a big superpower, it's like, well, okay, I'm going to get you all into a little bit of a tie or a bind or whatever. And guess what? At the end of the day, we're all in it together, but I'm looking after the little person and I'm making good relations and all that sort of stuff. Whereas I think I think that, for me, I think it's that case of where by Trumpy not doing that, I think what he's done is been able to actually, he's been able to get the best deal.
Yeah.
I think that's the...
I love your nickname, Trumpy. I think we should refer to him as Trumpy from this point forward. Sheila, so what do you think? Do you agree with Bobby?
Yes, I do. Yeah. I think you've got to look at the bigger picture, and it's not necessarily to everybody's benefit when you're combining such a large amount of different countries, different cultures, different ideas, because everyone's going to have their own perception of what that deal says, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because we all hear things and take things in on our own levels. So, what someone, and if we use Barack Obama, obviously he thought it was a good deal, but he wasn't a businessman, as you've already said. So his way of looking at it from the US's perspective would have been quite different than Donald Trump's.
Yeah, I think it was just expedience, to be honest. So, Bobby, this is probably more a question for Amanda and Sheila and myself, the next one. I was a bit embarrassed when Trump pulled out, because, and the next question is, should Australia and the other countries involved have behaved more diplomatically at that time? Because I thought they all acted like they didn't throw hissy fits, but they all were quite damning, and instead of being a little bit more diplomatic about the affair, I felt it was a little bit too dramatic on a number of parties' parts. What did you think, Amanda? Were you a bit embarrassed at that moment?
Well, I think it just showed you the real, personalities coming out, really. I mean, that was probably the most exciting thing to happen in Australian politics for a little while. It was like, wow, okay, you guys are all got your little, all your little girl panties on, and you all got them all bunched up, and you don't know what to do about it. Like, it's, so it was this whole thing of, again, it was such a strong ego response of, well, hang on a second, you're not playing our game anymore. And it was like, well, no, actually, I'm not. And it was sort of, almost, well, I mean, yes, you could say it was embarrassing, because it was like they were, you're sitting there going, wow, okay, here's a person who has actually obviously read the deal and gone, hang on, I don't like this deal. So, sorry, man, I'm out. I'm not playing the game. I don't want to, it's not my thing. but then to sort of, I mean, it got to the, you know, it got to the point of almost name calling, and you're just like, really, like, do you boys want to go and have a hanky and cry in the corner? Like, that's how bad it got. Like, it was just like, wow.
I did. I thought that it was kind of like, I'm going to take my bat and ball and go home now.
Exactly.
And that was kind of my first inkling into how people react to him. And I was like, oh my God, I hope. But it wasn't just the Australians that did it. It was kind of like they could not believe they were absolutely aghast that he wasn't going to follow through on something Barack Obama had stamped, you know? And it was kind of like, and I think he did it. He just went, look, no, it's not a good deal. We're not doing it. And that should have been enough. He's a new president. Yes. It's fair enough. Like, they had a year of rorting the system of the US, you know. Yes. So they should be happy with just a year. Sheila, what do you think? Do you think we were a bad sports at that time?
Look, it's funny because what you guys have been saying is exactly what's been in my mind. You know, they all had their knickers in a nosh, and in a lot of instances we could probably say they had egg on their faces because they didn't get what they thought they were going to get. So bad sportsmanship, basically.
Yeah. So, Bobby, in hindsight, with the truth of the tariffs now out in the open, why do you think Obama and the previous presidents allowed the US to be taken advantage of so badly? Why? What was going on? I mean, it can't just be that they didn't have any businessmen giving them advice, surely.
I'm sure they had advice, but I think maybe Obama and maybe some of the people around him were saying that it's important for us to, forge a deal with all these countries and become part of the bloc as opposed to standing by ourselves. And, Trump just looked at it totally differently. He thought that, standing by ourselves is the best deal we can make.
Okay. Well, anything else anyone would like to say on that topic, or should we move on to Stormy?
Yeah, let's move on to Stormy. This is going to be good.
Bobby, is there anything else you'd like to say about the TPP, or are you happy to leave it there?
The only thing I, was going to say that I didn't sort of fit in was about the Google thing, because, basically the CEO of Google, he's doing the right thing because his responsibility is to his shareholders to return the most on their investment. And if he can get a better deal by producing it abroad, that's what he's going to do. Whereas Trump, he's got the ability to enforce tariffs. And so what he wants to do is say, well, if you do this, then we're going to put this kind of a tariff on it and basically make that deal no longer very good. And he's got the ability to do that, and he can basically stop these companies from going abroad.
Yeah, I completely agree. So do you think that's a bit naughty as well? It's kind of blackmail, isn't it, in a way?
I don't think so. I think, the tariffs were the original thing that, that presidents of countries used to do. They didn't even have taxes at that time. They got most of their money from tariffs.
That's true. Okay. Sheila, anything you'd like to add, or are you happy for us to move into the storm?
No, let's move on.
So, now the big saying out there's a storm coming, and there wasn't there? There was the Stormy Daniels scandal. So this is quite a bit of, there was so much to it. You'll notice that my usual succinct paragraph was a lot larger this month. So I'm just going to go for it now. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. So the Stormy Daniels - Donald Trump scandal is a political scandal involving a non-disclosure agreement, an NDA, signed by US President Donald Trump's personal lawyer, not him, Michael Cohen, and adult film actress Stormy Daniels, just before the 2016 United States presidential election. After the existence of the NDA was revealed by the Wall Street Journal in January 2018, Daniels sued Trump and Cohen to argue that the agreement was invalid. The dispute has gained significant media coverage and has drawn legal attention to Cohen's involvement in the matter. The first reports of an alleged affair between Trump and Daniels, and by the way, I don't think a one-night stand is an affair. Do we all agree on that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to call
especially with a hooker.
I'm just going to say a one-night stand. So the first reports of an alleged one-night stand between Trump and Daniels were published in October 2011 by the blog The Dirty and the magazine Life and Style. I think I'm going to have to go Google that soon. Around the same time, Daniels talked about the alleged affair with the gossip magazine In Touch Weekly, which chose, oh my God, the names here, which chose not to publish the interview. Is that Sheila cracking up?
No. Sorry, that's me.
Which chose not to publish the interview after Cohen threatened to sue the magazine. On January 12, 2018, this year, the Wall Street Journal reported that Cohen paid Daniels 130 grand, which, what's that in Australian dollars? About 200 grand?
Yeah, about that.
In October 2016, a month before the election, to stop her from discussing an affair or the one-night stand she allegedly had with Trump. Well, we know she had it with him in 2006. A lawyer for Daniels made claims that the payment was a cover-up, while others also raised questions, which has since been admitted as true in a guilty plea by Cohen in criminal court proceedings, about whether the NDA itself constituted an illegal campaign payment and therefore criminal violation. Cohen, on January the 14th, denied the existence of an affair on behalf of his client Trump. But on February the 13th, he acknowledged having paid Daniels, this is Cohen having paid Daniels, $130,000, saying the payment was made with his own funds. So the 130 grand was paid by Cohen from his own money. That's interesting. On March 6th, Daniels filed a lawsuit against Trump claiming that the non-disclosure agreement she had signed about the alleged affair was invalid because Trump had never personally signed it, despite acknowledging that she accepted the payment made in consideration for her silence on the matter. Oh my God, this woman's a gold digger.
Yeah.
This is awful. This is absolutely awful. I wrote this about 3 weeks ago, but I'm just really, it's just hitting home to me. So she took the money, but then she went and talked to everybody, and he didn't even Trump hadn't actually signed any NDA. So the only agreement she had to be silent was between Michael Cohen and her. Oh my God, okay. The suit also alleges that Trump's attorney has been trying to intimidate Daniels and scare her into not talking. Yeah, okay. On the next day, Cohen initiated an ex parte arbitration process that resulted in an order barring Daniels from disclosing confidential information, that's in quotes, related to the non-disclosure agreement. Okay, with 60 Minutes on March 25. Oh my God. She's been on every show possible from the sounds of it. Daniels said that she and Trump had sex once and that later she had been threatened in front of her infant daughter and felt pressured to later sign a non-disclosure agreement. So that was when. She hasn't actually stated when she was threatened. Okay. On April 9, FBI agents raided Cohen's office and seized emails, tax documents and business records relating to several matters, including the payment to Daniels. On April 26, Trump, for the first time, admitted that Cohen represents him in the Stormy Daniels deal. Trump's new personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, told Sean Hannity on May 2nd that Trump has reimbursed Cohen for the payment, stating Trump didn't know about the specifics of it, but he did know about the general arrangement that Michael would take care of things like this, because he's taken care of things like that prior, obviously, which contradicted Trump's claim on Air Force One of April 5 of having no knowledge of the payment. In August 2018, Cohen pleaded guilty to 8 charges. That's right, he took a plea deal, didn't he? Including one related to the scandal, and he stated under oath that he paid Daniels in coordination with and at the direction of a candidate for federal office, meaning Trump. Okay, wow. What's that saying? What a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. This kind of sums it all up. But the reality is, like straight away, I after refreshing myself with that,
we're going to a break, guys. We'll be back shortly. Just remember to mute your microphone, and we'll see you soon in about 5 or 6 minutes.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Join Revolution Radio every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio B for Momentary Zen with host Zen Garcia at freedomslips.com, the People Station.
Revolution Radio.
You don't see it, do you? How close we are to absolute chaos? The sick ones are sitting on their fat asses, eating and drink themselves into a stupor, polluting the world without a second thought while it goes down the toilet. Nobody wants to do the nasty work. You know, the shit that we all just think about. Most good citizens are just along for the ride and then bitch and moan and complain about everything when it doesn't work out. Not me. Get it done.
Revolution Radio, where we do the nasty work. www.freedomslips.com. The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Good evening. You're with Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, and this is Sheila Kennedy with Welcome to the 1% and the last Thursday of the month, Oddities E-Club magazine. In this instance, the Trump Phenomenon Show. So because we're with Revolution Radio, we are the number one 100% listener-supported radio station, bringing tonight's show to you. And we do, of course, rely on our wonderful listeners to keep us on air. So if you can afford to donate a little or a lot, we really do appreciate you. And please check out the amazing deals and specials on the Revolution Radio or revolution.radio or freedomslips.com website. And I'm going to return this now to our last Thursday of the month, my wonderful co-host Sharon and Rowland of Oddities E-Club magazine and author of the Crystal Channeler series and other books as well. So welcome back, Sharon Ann.
Thanks, Sheila. And can I just say, I subscribe every month to the archived shows, and if I'm ever bored during the month or I've had enough of researching Trump, I usually pop in there and just listen to one of the more spiritually minded shows, and they're great. So I highly recommend that, and it's so cheap. I think it's like $6 a month.
$5.95. Yeah, I always say it's a cup of coffee or a bar of chocolate, isn't it? And the gift that keeps on giving.
And it is, and it's like I'm trying to work my way through all the different archives and see who I like the most. And Bobby's stuff's really good, by the way, Bobby. I like your stuff.
Oh, thank you. You mean listening to my roundtables?
Yeah, I find them quite good. There's a lot of testosterone going on, but you do seem to have a lot of men on. I think you need to get a few more. At least have a token woman in occasionally. So. Well,
I do try to draw in as many people as possible, and tonight we actually did have a woman. Her nickname is Shore, and she's quite talkative. And Sheila was in for a while with her, and so we did have her. We don't always have her though, but we try to get as many people as possible. And I always try to make it to where the whole 3 hours is a roundtable. I don't really want to spend a half an hour spouting off a bunch of my views. I just want to get right into. Let's get some callers in, let people talk about what they want to.
Yeah, that sounds great. But I'm looking forward to checking out today's show then. That'll be good. Now, I'm not going to run through the whole, what I said before the break on Stormy Daniels. So everyone's got their sheet anyway, so they can check on that. Yep. So let's kick in, and we'll start off with Sheila this time. So Sheila, is this all about the publicity and cashing in for Stormy Daniels?
Well, I'm going to be really honest with you, Sharon Ann, and tell you I had no idea who the hell Stormy Daniels was. Seriously. So when you sent the run sheet through, I went in and looked her up. And it was like, okay.
Are you admitting on air that you surfed porn today?
No, I read news articles. And it was actually yesterday. And one of them said that the judge is about to throw her case out or something.
Really? Excellent.
Day or so ago. And there was not just one, but 3 or 4 places talking about it. So from my perspective, okay, and as an older lady, if you like, I'll be nice about myself. I think it is publicity and cashing in. I mean, if we look at, this isn't the first president to have been involved with a woman outside of his marriage, is it? It's probably not going to be the last.
Definitely.
So, if you can tie your name into a, fairly well-known around the world public figure and even bad publicity is publicity, isn't it?
That's what they say.
So, I think you're right.
So, Amanda G, is it all about the publicity and cashing in for Stormy Daniels?
Yeah, I'm going to say yes. And I mean, again, it's one of those. How many people are jumping on the Trump train as soon as they can? You know what I mean? Like if they can associate themselves either positively or negatively with him, they're trying to do it because it's either bumping up their views or how many people, the moment that this came out, how many people would have searched Stormy Daniels? How many people might have been looking at porn? How many people might have been, at the end of the day, it bumped views. And for a lot of advertising now, it's all about views. Do I think she's trying to cash in on it? Yes, I do. Does it matter whether or not the case goes through or not? No, because the views are already there. She's already getting the coverage. It's not just, it's that those views, those searches, it's all going to end up being cash. You know what I mean? Like it's with the way that the world works now with publicity, whereas before you had to go out and actually do something of value. Now for a lot of people, it's just being associated. So if they can, exactly as Sheila said, if they can associate themselves with a big name, then they'll do it in order to ride that gravy train.
Yeah, exactly. Bobby, what do you say? Is it about the publicity and cashing in for Stormy Daniels?
I'm sure it is. And, I looked at it as I didn't pay that much attention to it at the time because to me it just sounded like, he was divorced from his first wife and this is before he married Melania, so he wasn't really cheating on anybody, and so he had some high-priced hooker or whatever for one night, and that was it. And then there was an agreement that she signed, and the way I see it, she broke the agreement, so therefore, I'm sure she had a lawyer that advised her that maybe she should, pursue something else. And so she actually broke the agreement is what I see it, because she should have kept her mouth shut because that's what she was paid $130,000 to do.
Exactly. Yeah, I thoroughly agree. So, Sheila, a lot has been made of the fact that his current wife, Melania, had just given birth to their son, Baron, when the one-night stand between Stormy Daniels and President Trump occurred. What are your thoughts? Is that true, Bobby? Because you said he was single then.
Well, I would admit then that I don't know because, I'm not really somebody who follows this that closely. I thought that it was before, but if they're saying that it was before his first child was born or whatever, although like you say, he's not the first man to cheat on his wife, and I don't know. I would say, I would go along with whatever you've got quoted there because I'm probably wrong about thinking it was before he was married.
So, well, I'll just redo that then. Sheila, so a lot's been made of the fact that his current wife, Melania, and we don't know if they were married at this point, had just given birth to their son, Baron, when the one-night stand between Stormy Daniels and the president occurred. What are your thoughts on that?
I thought about that today, Sharon, when I was, reading through tonight's things, and I thought, there's a couple of ways of looking at that from my perspective, and one of them was something my mother-in-law used to say. I can't remember the exact wording, but, temptation is one of those things that, some people are going to take it and some are not. I used to say to people years ago when I worked as a couple counsellor that you can say I would never do this or I would never do that, whether it be have an affair or steal or whatever it might be. But until you're in a given specific set of circumstances, you really do not know how you're going to react. A lot of people have different weaknesses than others. There may be a whole range of things that they would think they might not do, but in a specific set of circumstances they might. We could hope that, people's marriages would stand up to, or relationships would stand up to temptation. But if we're really honest, we're talking about human behaviour and human nature. So I'm not going to judge him one way or the other because I wasn't there.
Yep. Bobby, what do you say? Or do you want to have an input into this one, or?
Well, I think it's sort of a continuation of the same one. I think that now that I'm corrected, I would say that, I would think that it's not very nice for him to be having sex, a few months before his child is born. I think that's, not a very admirable thing to do. But, his lawyer paid her $130,000 to keep her mouth shut. She broke the deal as far as I can see. And, and so there you go.
I pretty much think when she married him, she knew what she was getting, personally. And I don't think anyone would have agreed to marry Trump with his history with women and not expected. So, in fact, I think she probably even had an arrangement like Melinda Gates and Bill Gates had. Do you remember their weird arrangement? I reckon Melania and Trump have probably have an agreement in place prior to marriage, that things like that would probably continue to happen. And I think, because I don't think you could ever marry someone like Trump with his history and not expect it. This also lends to my current theory on why his base is never shocked about him, because before he was voted into the presidency, pretty much after 10 years of him on the what was that, The Apprentice, the show he was on, everything bad that could possibly come out about him came out in the rags during that time. So pretty much before he even came down that elevator and said, I'm running for president, the whole country already knew everything possible about him. And that's why I think when the Dems and other parties that try to bring him down mention things, most of his base say, well, yeah, yeah, we're not stupid, of course, but we didn't vote him in for that. We if we wanted an exemplary president, they would have voted in Pence, wouldn't they? Because he's the choir boy. But what they needed, what the country needed, was Trump, the businessman, and he comes with a lot of baggage, and they were willing to accept it. And I think that's the one thing that the Democrats just haven't been able to get their heads around, that the base, that they kind of think everyone on that base is a religious nut and wouldn't accept a lot of this stuff. But the majority of normal Americans are actually his base, and they just say, yeah, well, we'll put up with it because he's doing all this. And that's a normal reaction to the situation. So, Sheila, why do you think President Trump didn't sign the NDA? I've often wondered this. No, that was the first thing that hit me.
Well, my first thought on that, Sharon Ann, was, did he actually know about the NDA at the time, or was it done on his behalf?
Well, that's what he said, didn't he? He said he just told the guy to go fix it, pretty much, hadn't he? So, yeah, maybe there was absolutely no communication on it between the two men. You're right. Yeah. That's a plausible reason. What do you think, Amanda? Why didn't the president sign the NDA and only Michael Cohen?
Well, and that's the thing. When you look at a lot of the behind the story part of this, Cohen is acting. I mean, yes, he's acting for his client, but is it just a case of he is a lawyer on retainer? Yes, he is his personal lawyer on retainer. When something like this comes through, rather than bother the big man, I'll just get this sorted. I'll just work this out. I'll sign it for him. So what? I think it was that case of, at the end of the day, how many times has he done this for Trump? Yeah. How many times has he done the whole, listen here, Johnny, we've got another one coming through the door. Yeah, mate, just fix it up. Just do what you got to do. He doesn't know the ins and outs. He's not a lawyer. He's a businessman. He leaves the lawyering to the lawyers, not necessarily, whereas the business is Trumpy's domain. I think I agree with Sheila. I don't think he actually knew the ins and outs of this until such time as, because even then it was something about, we didn't know the specifics, but he did know about the general arrangement that Michael Cohen would take care of things like this, which contradicted Trump's claim on Air Force One, April 5, of having no knowledge of the payment. I mean, again, it could be that case of it's only after the fact that he's realised that, Cohen's made the payment, has reimbursed him like any good client would do. And so, I mean, there's a little bit of grey areas that have really, I think, made this. Why didn't he sign it? I think because he didn't know. It was just one of those things. Cohen has acted in the way that he's acted over numerous occasions, and it's all come out before, maybe Trump. I mean, because it's all come out before this has been sorted. So. But, so why do I think he didn't sign it is because, well, it wasn't a big deal then.
No,
it wasn't.
I agree. I think Cohen just overstepped on a few things and said a few things. I think I've heard Trump say that Cohen was a lawyer that he used occasionally. He wasn't his main guy, and he basically threw him a bone and said, "Look, just fix this up." And then, obviously, I think, like you just said, he basically came back with a little bit of information now and again, and probably just said to him, "Look, I fixed it. That's cool." And he probably thought it was in his client's interest to not have his signature on that, and that he'd silenced her with his own. So quite frankly, I mean, it shows no paper trail between the president and her, does it?
And again, it comes back to, well, I did this for, I mean, he states that, in coordination with and at the direction of a candidate for federal office. Again, it's that whole thing of, well, I mean, yes, Trump has admitted that he's looking after that deal for him. Yet he admitted that there was no, no, that's not my deal. Yeah, there's a deal there. I don't know the specifics of it. And at the time, he might have on Air Force One. Again, it's all sort of wishy-washy when it all happens, when all the little time frames happen. But it's that case of, well, I think really it's, it comes down to that, yes, he's sort of said, I've acted in this interest. But again, it's, like with a lot of things, you rely on your lawyer to do the lawyer stuff. Like, so if he's just done it on his own back and gone, well, okay, I'll pay the $130,000. That helps get that out of the way. I'll give, Donald the invoice later. Trumpy might not have known that he actually had anything owing. So, of course, when asked about, I actually have no idea what you're talking about. And it could be very much the truth. The worst thing is a lot of it is, well, I say that this happened and that happened and that happened and that's what Stormy's doing and of course then Cohen's doing the same thing. Well, I've done this and I've done that and I've done this. And, really, it's three or five different stories all happening at once. And really, it's it's a perception. This is what I think. This is what I was seeing happening at the time that I was involved. And, it's, So what I think that Trump actually had no idea until such time as he received an invoice for $130,000. So,
Yeah, I'm on the same. I'm on the same train with you. So, Bobby, why do you think President Trump didn't sign the NDA?
I agree with both you and Amanda because basically, I think the same thing. I mean, and the lawyer, he's not going to take $130,000 out of his pocket and pay this woman off without knowing that he's going to get reimbursed. But he doesn't. File, an invoice to Trump immediately, probably. So maybe Trump didn't know. And the other thing is, a contract is an agreement between two people. And so it was between the lawyer and this woman. And still, she got paid. She accepted the agreement, and she should have kept her mouth shut, and she didn't. And, so maybe Trump didn't exactly know about it at the time.
No, do you know what I think, though? I think Michael Cohen should sue the pants off her, literally, and get his money back. That $130,000 now, because I think she didn't keep her word. So now
I thought the $130,000 was returned. I thought she did return it.
Oh, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But then again, as you can see, I could be wrong.
So Sheila, do you think this scandal has influenced the US voter at all?
No.
No, I don't either.
I think it's just another let's throw a stone. So, the people who are on Trump's side are going to probably look at it the way the four of us have this evening, our time, and say, well, it's just one of those things. From the the other side who do not vote for Trump, well, it just gives them another nail to bang into his coffin. But whether it actually influences them. The one thing that puzzles me, though, guys, is why 130,000? It's an odd number from my perspective. You know, you'd think 100,000, 125, 150 maybe. Even at 100 and something thousand, it's not a lot of money to be paying someone, from my perspective, to keep their mouth shut about something if you've got a really, position that you're wanting to protect, is it?
Well, especially when you think how much could she have gotten from doing the shows. I mean, she could be raking it in.
Exactly.
And that's without,
Well, I think
that's why I question that one.
I think that's why I think that's exactly why she's done what she's been doing. She basically handed the money back and then said yes to every offer open to her, literally.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she'd go to the opening of an envelope at this point, don't you?
Yes.
I've seen her everywhere. She's like, I just did a quick search, and I mean, she's even flown internationally I saw her on a British TV show, a morning show, and I'm just sitting there thinking, oh my God, they even flew her into England too.
They must be short on news items or something.
Oh, there is. So, Bobby, you're American. Did the scandal influence you at all?
Not at all, because personally, the way I look at all these things is I don't really care what the people do in their private lives. I'm concerned about their performance. And this did not affect his performance and will not affect his performance. And it's like, if I like music by an artist, and I don't care what they do in their personal life. If I like their music, I like their music. So I tend to, keep the two separate.
Yeah, thoroughly agree. So, Sheila, do you think that Stormy Daniels did default on the NDA between herself and Michael Cohen then? And if she hasn't, should she return the $130,000 paid for her silence?
Well, I'm of the belief, Sharon Ann, from many years ago that a gentleman's agreement or a handshake agreement, whether it's between a man and a woman or two men or whatever, is binding in a court of law. So if you've made an agreement that you're going to take a payment, a financial reward for something, and then you followed that up by signing a non-disclosure agreement, then you've definitely gone against what you've agreed to. That, to me, that's very much a default. And if she has still got the $130,000, I'd be wanting it back with interest.
I agree. Amanda, do you think that Stormy Daniels did default on the NDA? And if she hasn't already, should she return the money?
So it was one of those things where she believed that they had actually, saying that it was because the NDA was put out into the Wall Street magazine, she believes that it was null and voided. Is that correct?
No, basically there were 3 signatories on the NDA. There was Michael Cohen, there was Stormy Daniels, and then there was a blank space where President Trump was supposed to sign, but he didn't.
Yeah, but that's the thing. So after the existence of the NDA was revealed by the Wall Street Journal in 2018, Daniel sued Trump and Cohen to argue that the agreement is invalid. So she obviously believed that they leaked the document to the Wall Street Journal in order to do. If it was me and I was in Stormy Daniels' thing and I was a little bit like, okay, first of all, I would have actually gone and seen my own lawyer and said, right, okay, so what's happened? Is this a violation? Because I'm about to go to every single TV and magazine and everything like that and get everything I can get. So, and again, 130,000 is a really odd number. It's an odd number to be paying someone for their silence. But, at the end of the day, each their own. So I think she has assumed, and on that assumption has made a very silly mistake of just starting to go out there and just air her dirty laundry. Basically, and jump on it. As I said, I really do think that she's cashing in on wanting to be, associated with Trumpy in any way that she can to further her own career or whatever. Did she default? Yes, I do think she did, because of that fact that, I mean, it's been made known that there's a non-disclosure agreement there, but did it actually, you know what I mean? Like, has it actually named her as part of the thing? Or has she just then suddenly gone, well, there's an NDA out there with Trumpy's name on it, apparently, but it doesn't actually have his name on it, and has jumped in going sort of like, well, I'm bailing ship, you know what I mean? So I really think she's overreacted, and has basically, really shoved her foot in it, by sort of doing well, if it's out there, I'm going to be the first one that says it all and gets all the money. Does she need to pay that $130,000 back? Yes, because she has broken the contract. As Bobby has said, and even Sheila has said, and yourself, she signed that to say that she wouldn't talk about it. She wouldn't discuss any details. She wouldn't disclose anything. That's the non-disclosure agreement. That's the whole point. You don't disclose anything. You signed it. And at the end of the day, it's her name that's on that. She signed it with her own signature, you know, and so, yeah, she banked the check, man. Like, it'd be different if the check hasn't been banked. She handed that check back fresh or ripped it up or whatever she did and said, no, I don't agree, and all that sort of stuff before signing it. She had a choice there. She had a choice. And she made the choice to basically air her dirty laundry, even though she had already stated that she wouldn't. That just, I mean, again, that's a legally binding contract that she has signed. She has done the wrong thing, and that's the penalty, is that she should be paying that $130,000 back, because that's what that $130,000 was for, is to essentially, as much as sometimes we don't like to use the terms, buy her silence. They have brought her silence with $130,000. She has been the one that's gone, well, hang on a second, I might be able to get a bit more, and she has tried to get more from it. And again, I think she's, again, I think that's wrong. She has broken a legally binding contract by disclosing her details. You know what I mean? So no.
When I read that part, Amanda, I instantly thought that she's the one that leaked it to the Wall Street Journal. Because I think the moment he became president, she saw dollar signs. If he hadn't been, I don't reckon this would have happened. I reckon that she had Plan B kicked in. So what do you think, Bobby? Do you think that Stormy Daniels did default on the NDA between herself and Michael Cohen? And should she have returned the money if she hasn't already?
Okay, yeah, I agree with you. I think that I think she did return the money, but what probably happened was she got advice from her own lawyer at some point, and he said, $130,000, that's nothing. I can get you a lot more. And, basically he came up with a plan for her to just somehow this gets leaked and she's going to go on touring. She'll probably write her own book. And I agree with you that, if Trump didn't get elected, she might have just stayed with 130. And I don't think 130 is a weird number, because what might have happened is he might have said, I'm prepared to offer you $100,000. And she said, no, I want like 150. And he said, all right, 130, Kate, let's do it. It's done. And so, compromised.
So, look, I'm interested. Was 130 just for the silence, or was that also for the night of sex? What else did she get? I'm just thinking, I probably wouldn't sleep with him for 130 grand. What? Does anyone know if she got anything as well? Because I'm sorry, I'm finding I have a problem with the 132, but it's not because of what you're saying. It's because I just wouldn't sleep with him for that much money. It's not enough. I'm sorry.
Well, then in saying that, remember, Trumpy is still, well, I mean, Bobby, you'd probably be able to agree with this. Even before he was a president, he was a well-known man. I mean, Trump doesn't have Trump Towers for the sake of, because he's, because he's a nobody. He has he was a well-known man before he became a president. True. Is that right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
he was a big real estate man.
Yeah, so, at the end of the day, I mean, it wouldn't matter if he didn't become president. I still think that he would be a big enough name and worth enough that if she had gotten a lawyer that turned around and said, hang on, I think I can get you a bit more money, I don't think it would matter if he was a president or not, because, I mean, Trump has been renowned for his non-monogamous ways. I mean, look, he has been renowned for being a womanizer. He's been renowned for being, caught up with various women in various situations. It's nothing new to him, you know what I mean? So the fact that he's a president, I mean, and again, as you guys said, he's not the first president to have done this. So 130,000 seems like a kind of chicken feed to a man of his class or stature or even level, So yeah, I'm sort of one of those where I think, gee, 130,000. That's not a lot. I mean, for if you were going to try and buy someone's silence, I mean, granted, the book wouldn't be very long if she wrote a book. I mean, it's a one-night stand. It's not like it's been 60 years. It's one night. It's going to be about 3 pages. You know what I mean? I can't imagine it going any longer than 3 pages. So, you know what I mean? So for 130,000, it's not like she's really going to get anything from it except a few interviews, maybe a couple of magazine things, front page or a double page spread on a magazine. I mean, there's not that much to it. It's the kiss and tell is pretty much 3 pages long. So 130,000, and he's worth how much? You know what I mean? So 130,000 seems like for hush money seems really like a real weird number for her to then suddenly go, well, hang on, I could get more. Like it's I don't know. It seems like I don't know. For me, it's just weird.
Yeah. No, the timing in that, it's all around the presidency, I think. I mean, I'm pretty sure that I'm just wondering how he actually got her into bed in the first place because that wouldn't entice me at all. It would have to be a shitload more than that. I'm talking a lot of money. But anyway, well, Sheila, why do you think the US media are so fixated on this scandal, considering the hypothetical other women that he's paid off over the years? I mean, if you believe the media, there's been a string of women over the years he's been paying off. I don't actually know if that's true or not, so I'm saying hypothetical here. But if that was the case, why, and the US media seems to think it, why are they so fixated on this? It goes on. It's been going on since 2011 from the looks of this. Every year they seem to bring it up.
I think from what I've seen of the US media, they print what they're told, and it depends on who's giving the orders or the instructions. Because I spent a lot of time, as I said, back when the election was on, watching YouTube videos and things like that, and you were having people from, if we say alternative in inverted commas, saying, this is what's happening, and then you were getting places like, I think it was Fox News, going, oh no, this is what's happening. So are we telling people what we want them to believe or what we think they want to hear, or are we actually reporting the truth? And I grew up believing that what was in the newspaper was supposedly true. It was only as I got older and I thought, you start to read between the lines and then realise that, some poetic license, if you like, helps sell newspapers, or, all the things that go with, having a news station or something like that. So that's my feeling on it, Sharon. And I'm not picking up energetically, if you like, anything else that says there's something else in this or something that needs to be looked at more deeply. Okay. It just seems to be but that's just my perception. That's not necessarily the truth. So interesting to see what everyone else says.
Yeah. Amanda Jean, why do you think the US media are so fixated on this particular scandal over all others, I suppose? I mean, they're fixated on a lot of things, but this one just doesn't go away.
And I think, again, it's coming down to circumstance. Since 2011, I mean, he did The Apprentice and all that sort of stuff, and that's really where, you know, when you think about a lot of it started coming out was once he started becoming a bit of an icon on TV. Even, you know, it's trying to discredit and all that sort of stuff, and you know, he'd made a couple of, you know, very even as far back as, you know, early 2000s. Started making these things about, you know, jokingly, I should go for president, bloody blah, blah, you know, and everyone thought, oh, yeah, he's just having a bit of a moment. And then suddenly, you know, he started becoming known for his work or his show, The Apprentice, and started getting, you know, he started becoming quite popular. And again, as we know, with some people, it is that case of if someone starts getting a little bit too powerful, that's a bit of a rogue, like Trump is, they start going, hang on a second, we need to be able to, you know, rein this person in. We need to be able to try and control or bring about a change or shortening the following down a little bit. You know, he's getting a little bit too big for his boots, apparently. And I think that's where this scandal, when you think about it, you think back to, you know, Clinton and all that sort of stuff. I mean, remember when, you know, his scandal came out with Monica. You know, it was that thing of, you know, he denied it, and then suddenly it all came out, and then, you know, blah 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 blah, and it was such a scandal which really destroyed his career. Like that was sort of the moment that Bill basically lost his ability to even think about staying in politics, because it had just basically shattered everything.
I think it was the moment that Mark did not have sexual relations with that. That was the line,
yeah,
reverberating. Yep.
Exactly. How do you not, you know? And I think that's the thing with this, is they're hoping that, you know, I mean, because that's the thing. I mean, Trump hasn't just gone into presidency and sort of sat back and gone, oh, yeah, you know, everything's rainbows and unicorns. He's gone, no, man, I've got to do some hard work and da-da-da-da-da. And he is producing some outcomes which that have been, again, businessly minded, and it's producing a flow-on effect in America itself, which is, you know, his whole idea. The thing is, I think with the Stormy Daniels thing, is they really are trying, you know, it's a bit like that old squeaky wheel. They're trying to get momentum, traction, whatever. They're trying to get it to be looked at, yet it's not, everyone's sort of going, but yeah, we know that. We know he's like that. We didn't put him into presidency because we knew he was clean cut, shaven, with a great hair. We put him in there because we knew he could do the job. So we really don't care. But the problem is, there's that perception that this is scandalous. This is this should be ending his career. When in actual fact, it's not. But they're trying to keep it flowing in that media to try and tarnish. Yet I think he's just, I think it's not gaining any traction. It's not getting any stick. Yeah.
The guy is just coated in Teflon. That's what I think. Every time they throw something at him, Bobby, it just slides off. So, Bobby, why do you think the US media are so fixated on this scandal in particular? I mean, it's the only female kind of scandal for him. I mean, not like Kavanaugh's got like 4 of them now, hasn't he? But this one's just we've actually that's what I've missed, I think, the last couple of weeks. There was actually a little bit of a reprieve from Trump because Kavanaugh was taking all the hits from the sounds of it, and I missed that window of like breathing, which I'm a bit peeved about. But Bobby, back to you. Why do you think the US media are so fixated on this?
Well, the US media has been against Trump all along, and it's like they were against him, when he was campaigning. I mean, they're basically a democratically controlled media, and that's why everybody calls them the false media or whatever, and they look to alternative news to get the stories, because they just keep hammering on Trump. No matter what, they'll find something to hammer on him, no matter what he does. And so basically, that's why I think they keep doing it. Now, I hear what you're saying, Sharon, but I think maybe she got paid some money for the night as it is, and then this silencer agreement money was just extra money when they realized that they needed to shut her up. But it's like, $130,000 for a middle-aged, washed-out, slut is probably pretty good.
Can we call her a porn star? That's probably nicer. I can't believe I'm saying that phrase. Yes, but no, look, I agree. That's the whole thing with the Dems at the moment. They seem to glorify these people that none of us really have any respect for. And she's like the epitome of, she's been held up as a feminist icon, and I'm sorry, but I don't want that icon. And in fact, I don't even want half the feminist crap that's being thrown out at the moment. I don't know about you Amanda and Sheila, but I think I'll stick to second wave feminism, because this third wave, they're all batshit crazy. I don't know.
Well, and the thing is too, I guess the part is too, Stormy is being portrayed as this, very beautiful, and she's a mother, and when you think about it, think about the image that she's hardworking, and trying to, and she's been taken advantage of, and she's been threatened, and she's a mother, and she's a strong woman, and she's standing up to the man, and all that sort of stuff. And that's the thing, is it's sort of gone, she's a almost like a perfect picture of how Trump could be destroying the inverted commas purist view or lifestyle or whatever it is, and it's because whenever you see her, you don't see her at home in her sweaties. You're seeing her all dolled up with her hair done nice and makeup on and all that sort of stuff. It's you're not seeing her in a work outfit, are you?
No.
So
let's hope not, Amanda Jean, if she's a porn star. But that's the thing. So when you look at it, they're not talking about her they're talking about her as a mother and a beautiful young woman who's in her prime, etc., etc., etc. They're not talking about the fact that was her job. Her job, which I thought also contained confidentiality as well, was as either a porn star or as an escort. So you would think that even in that profession there still has to be an element of confidentiality. So she's been painted in a very different view to what she is, and then labeling her as feminist and this and that. And I think because they're trying to get attraction on this whole thing of, well, Donald's done something wrong, when Donald, at the end of the day, we weren't there. We weren't there in the room with them. We weren't,
Thank God.
we did, yeah. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what transaction is being made. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a bit of a giggle snort, really. I find this is quite fascinating, this one, because it's got nothing. It's not holding anything to anything out of the ordinary to what Donald is. I mean, I mean, back in the 90s, he was renowned for being, quite, full on with the ladies. So, he hasn't, like, it's not that he's changed or anything. It's just that what now is on a big scale, on a big stage, and people are trying to, they're trying to, be associated with that big stage thing. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. No, yeah. I know what you're saying. So, So, Sheila, do you think that the people that voted for President Trump knew what they were getting? A businessman with faults, and that's why scandal after scandal doesn't seem to affect his popularity. Is that the bottom line?
I would say yes, Sharon. As Amanda Jeans has been saying, he's been around for a long time. He's been a very flamboyant figure. And people really do know what they're getting. The leopard doesn't change its spots, does it?
No.
And, with all the stuff that's come out about previous presidents, and we don't need to name them, I'm sure, do people expect when they vote in a president that they're going to be, a pillar of everything that's taken as good and, lawful and wonderful? Because there's going to be an awful lot of pressure, I think, on anyone in that sort of position to, cross the line. And that's where I think the whole Stormy Daniels things come in, as we were saying before, of giving that money back. Somebody may have made her a better offer.
Yeah, I think definitely, to be honest. It's interesting what you just said, though, about every president coming in has a skeleton, but do you know what? I think there's been a turning point. To me, I think from this point on, we're never going to see a president that we had prior. They're all going to be, and is it social? I think it might be social media that's the real culprit here, and this ability of everybody to be able to video and record things. I think from this point on, I think Trump's just the first president to be completely exposed, and that's why there's a news story every day as well, because there's always a camera on him. There's always, whereas previously they could escape,
Yeah.
And I think maybe a lot of people are thinking it's all Trump, but I think a good percentage of it might just be new media. So, Bobby, do you think that the people that voted for President Trump knew what they were getting? A businessman with faults, and that's why scandal after scandal doesn't seem to affect his popularity?
I think they knew what they were getting to a certain extent. I don't think they thought he was a choir boy. I mean, I don't think you rise to the top, so to speak, in real estate, by being a choir boy. You have to know how to wheel and deal. If you're in there with the snakes, you have to have some snake part to deal with them. But, that's what we wanted. We wanted somebody to come in here and straighten this place out. And when he said drain the swamp, everybody knew what that meant. That meant, like, get rid of all these sleazy, things that are in here for, like, years and years and totally clean this place out so that we could have a decent, government again.
Yeah, no, look, I agree with you. And Amanda, do you think that the people that voted for the president knew what they were getting, a businessman with faults?
Yeah, I do, because, I mean, as I said, he's been in the limelight, 80s and 90s, and then he sort of went quiet for a smidge, and then in 2000 he came back with The Apprentice, and he sort of, bumped his way back up through that way, and then has become, and he hasn't been backwards in coming forwards. I mean, he is a man that has, like when all this stuff comes out, he just pretty much goes, yeah, actually it did. Of course it did. Yeah, absolutely. But then he's also honest in saying, oh shit, actually I have no idea. Hang on a second, let me get back to you on that one. So at the end of the day, I think that, yes, they knew they were getting a businessman with fault. As Bobby said, that's what they wanted. They wanted someone that could come in and look at the country and say, right, this is what we need to do. I have to treat this like a business, not as like my plaything. I need to treat this as a business, because if I don't, then this isn't going to work. Okay, yes, that means that I'm going to have to air my dirty laundry because I'm a president and they're going to be expecting that. He's already been plastered over social media for how many years? And even before that, it was the tabloids or the newspaper or the TV news. I mean, he's no stranger to scandal. He is no stranger to rumours, nothing. So for him, it doesn't worry him. And therefore, most people, it's a bit of that whole, well, if he's not worried about it, I'm not worried about it. You know what I mean? Whereas with others in the past, other presidents in the past, they were like, oh, no, that never happened. I never did anything like that. So, of course, then the person goes, well, they never did it. And then when he said, well, actually, I did, then they've turned around and gone, hang on a second, you've lied. Whereas he hasn't. He's basically said, yeah, man, I've got warts. I've got crazy-ass stuff. He's not worried about it. And I think that's why it hasn't affected his popularity, because he turns around and says, yeah, actually, I did do that. And as you said, it means that the next presidents from here on, man, they will admit that they have done anything and everything, because they realise that the more they do that, the more people like them, because they're real. They realise that these are humans. They're not a god. They're not anything out of the ordinary. Yes, Trump has an ego, and yes, he works that ego brilliantly.
Now, guys,
and that's what makes people love him.
Sorry, I've got you wrapped up. Guys, the next few questions I'm going to just fire at you. We're going to do a quick fire session, and I'm going to be asking the last 3 questions on this topic, and then at the end you'll find there's some if time allows questions. So
we've got about 5 minutes max, Sharon.
I know, that's why I want to do it in a quick fire. So short answers, yes, no, and is everyone ready? And we'll do it in row. So we'll do Sheila.
Go for it.
We'll do Sheila, then Amanda, then Bobby. Okay. So Stormy Daniels' attorney, Michael Avenatti, has stated that he would like to run for president. Is he delusional?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks. Stormy Daniels has just announced that she has a book coming out titled Full Disclosure about her life that will include details of her one-night stand with the president. How do you think the president will react when it's released, Sheila?
Well, I could see him finding it quite humorous, actually.
So he'll have a laugh. Amanda?
It's going to be 3 pages long. Seriously, I think he's going to have a giggle.
Is it going to be an ebook?
Absolutely.
I really hope it's not going to be a comic version, because then we'd actually have visuals. Bobby?
I don't think he's going to care, and she's going to make a real book out of it. She's going to have her whole life leading up to how she got into this business. She's going to, and she'll probably have a ghostwriter anyway.
True, very true. Now, finally, guys, on this subject, has the world had enough of Stormy Daniels and her ridiculously sized breasts?
Absolutely again.
Amanda?
Yes.
Definitely enough.
That's 100% then. So, okay. Thank you, guys. And flip over now to If Time Allows. Okay. So let's talk the wall. So I want to know from each of you, are you for it or are you against it, and why? So let's start with Sheila.
Is this the Russian summit?
No, this is the border wall that he wants to build between Mexico.
Oh, sorry, I was looking at the next thing. Look, I'd say yes, I would be for it for a number of reasons, and we don't have time now. So, yeah, I'll just go with yes.
So you're going to go with for it. And, okay, Amanda, are you for or against?
I just don't know how logistically it's going to work. That's probably my thing, is I want to know how, what, when, why, where, this is going to work, because for me it just seems like a massive thing. So I'm actually undecided. I don't have all the information, and therefore I can't make an informed choice. It's yeah.
Bobby,
I'm.
Hi, Bobby. Oh, Bobby's left. Okay, I'll answer for him. I am actually for the wall, and I did a little research on it. It's going to be made up of a variety of things. There's going to be actual wall. There's going to be mountainous areas where they're just going to have drones and things flying over. And there's also a lot of water. So obviously there'll be some type of boat people. Not boat people. That's an awful thing to say if you're Australian. It's going to be, you know,
we're out of time, guys. Sorry.
Officials on a boat.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed that.
Thank
you.
Sharon. Thank you,
guys.
Amanda Dean, and we'll be back again next week. Please stay tuned for Pamela Chalaris and News to Me. This is Sheila signing out.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message. Revolution Radio.
You don't see it, do you? How close we are to absolute chaos? The sick ones are sitting on their fat asses, eating and drink themselves into a stupor, polluting the world without a second thought while it goes down the toilet. Nobody wants to do the nasty work. You know, the shit that we all just think about. Most good citizens are just along for the ride and then bitch and moan and complain about everything when it doesn't work out. Not me. Get it done.
Revolution Radio, where we do the nasty work. www.freedomslips.com.
This is the people's war. It is our war. We are the fighters. Fight it then. Fight it with all that is in us. And may God defend the right.
Warning! Warning!
We gotta stop them! They're gonna kill us all! See how the trouble you've started? Be they the government, be they industry, be they organized labor, be they anyone, or human beings. Time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported talk radio station, throwing ourselves upon the gears of the machine. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
You called down the thunder, well now you got it. Right, you tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Revolution Radio! The opinions expressed on this radio